Welcome to Oyate Today. Oyate in Lakota means people. Brought to you by Native Sun News Today. Hi, welcome to Oyate Today. I am your host, Richie Richards. Oyate Today is produced by Tim and Jackie Gallego. Tim is an enrolled member of the Oglala Sioux tribe. Our guest tonight is Mr. Doug Herrman, Executive Director of the Club for Boys here in Rapid City. Thank you for being here, Mr. Herrman.
Oh, I appreciate the opportunity, Richie.
I understand you've been the Executive Director there at the Club for Boys since April of 2016. How has that journey been so far for you?
Well, it's been an exceptional journey. It's quite a special place, and I, certainly had, kind of had done my homework, but now that I've been there, there's just so many outstanding people that are involved in the Club for Boys, through our own staff, through donors, through board members, through along with many of our volunteers, and then we also have several partners. It's been a tremendous experience.
That's awesome. That's awesome. For those of us who haven't been familiarized with the history of the Club for Boys, could you talk to us a little bit about that history?
Sure. The Club for Boys has been around about 55 years. It was really kind of the idea and the concept was kind of spawned from the Optimist Club, who had a judge at the time that was a member, and they just felt like in Rapid City there wasn't a lot of opportunity for young people to keep them busy and basically kind of reduce delinquency. And so that group went to Sioux Falls because they had a club, and so they did some research, came back where this group was convinced as ever that Rapid City needed a club for boys. And so, so that in the mid-1960s, it was launched, and it was first down, the first location was down the old depot, which is, I'm told, is just behind the Rushmore Hotel.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
And then through the flood, they had to relocate, and so we relocated to our current location, which is near the Civic Center next to the Journey Museum. And so, but through that, there's been tremendous growth with the club. We're up to 1,400 members that belong to the club. That's all boys age 6 through 17. And so, we're constantly very busy every day. We're open Monday through Friday, just throughout the year. And so during the school year, we're more of an after-school program where all the boys come to us after school. And then during the summer, we're a full-day program, and so the boys come in the mornings and leave in the evenings. And so at any one time, like today, we have 300 boys there today.
Wow.
And so we fill up the place pretty well. During the summer, we'll have over 400 youth in there.
Per day.
And it's per day.
Wow.
Fortunately, during the summer, we have more opportunity to get boys out into different field trips and activities, because we have a lot of other activities that we can engage them in.
What's the staff like? What kind of staff is needed to do, to facilitate 300 youth?
Yeah, we have about 30 staff that are directly dedicated to the Club for Boys, and that's providing, obviously supervision, but mostly they're all kind of trained in special activities. Some are understand arts and crafts really well, or a woodworking shop, and we have some volunteers that also help us with that. We have an outdoor program. One of our staff, kind of is a specialist in all kinds of outdoor activity, whether that involves, kayaking to archery, to just a variety of stuff that we can introduce them to. But we also have kind of age-specific activities. We have some rooms that are specifically designated to, like the den, which is more of the age 13 to 17, and we're really specific to teenagers. But then we also have rooms for 9 to 12 and 6 to 9. And so we have a mixture, and then we're very fortunate to have 2 gymnasiums. So we can burn a lot of energy, but then we're introducing them to a lot of different types of activities, things that they can do for the rest of their life.
Sure. I understand that the Club for Boys provides certificates for members who, achieve certain goals within these programs. Can you talk about those certificates?
Sure. In those that are like who are interested in maybe like the kayak, and they have to go through a water safety course and earn the certificate, so we know they're safe. They understand how to be safe on the open water. For example, we do have we partner with someone that does hunter safety courses, and so we facilitate that. We can also, and in some of the activities like archery, they aspire to through performance, and they'll be awarded certain awards, I guess, for their success and stuff like that. So we have it like an honors boy banquet. So if they have success in education, because we also have a library and a study area and a computer lab, and that's another area where they get a lot of awards and certificates because they accomplish. And then we work closely with a school system in some of those areas. So there's just a wide variety, and we purposely have a lot of positive reinforcement for the boys. So we're always looking for ways to make sure we find success, and that they find success at the club.
I bet they have much excitement in gaining one of these certificates and taking it home and showing their brothers and sisters, their family members, their grandparents. I'm sure they really...
Well, they are. The Honors Boy Banquet we do once a year is really an emotional, very powerful setting, because oftentimes we're able to get the family there, and when they're receiving the award, the family's there to enjoy it with them. And so that's just really powerful. And we make it kind of a big deal. We put on a good banquet, good food, and make sure we invite, all their family and friends, and make sure that we get as many people as there. We fill up our gymnasium typically. Sure. For the banquet.
What a great way to honor these young men, young boys, with the honoring such as that ceremony you're talking about. So many of our youth, these are urban living children, urban living boys and young men in the program. So when you talk about a cabin in the hills and going out kayaking and canoeing, I'm sure that's a great experience and very exciting for them. So could you tell us a little bit about that program specifically?
Sure. It's one of the popular ones, of course, but some of them, they don't know. I mean, what it means to maybe camp out, or what it means to go fishing, and how do you, as far as bait, what do you use for bait? I mean, there's just it's kind of sometimes hilarious about what they think it is, and then what they learn, what it means to go fishing or to go to our cabin. We're really fortunate. A donor had provided a cabin. It's really kind of a house where, it's got 3 bedrooms, and it's a full-size house, but it sits on 7 acres, and it's near Deerfield Lake, and it's a big reward for kids to be able to spend the night at the cabin. And we've set up ways for them to earn. Part of that is learning how to maybe fish, and we'll teach them how to fish and cast, out on the lawn, just so they're ready to do that when they get there. We're not doing a lot of the teaching at the site. We're having the fun at the site.
Yeah.
So you try to prepare them for that, and they get excited. They get, it motivates them. They get focused on really productive, pro-social activities that I think is critical for any boy's success, is to be engaged in as many of pro-social activities as you can when you're younger, because those will often carry you into adulthood.
Sure.
So it's quite an experience. We have a tremendous staff. Tyler, who heads up our outdoor program and oversees the cabin, is really kind of built in a really successful process for that. And of course, the summertime is the busiest, but we can, even during the winter, we get them out skiing. We'll do some ice skating, some other outdoor activities too. So we're always looking to introduce them to a lot of different of those activities. So
sure. Mr. Herrman, we're going to take a break and get a word from our sponsors, but when we get back, we'll talk a little bit more about our partnerships, our Club for Boys partnerships with other organizations in Rapid City and the area. So we'll be back after a word from our sponsors.
know it's really busy in the coffee house, not just in the morning, but all day long. And it's really important that we serve our customers hot coffee that's ready for them when they're ready for it.
We get that, Michelle. And our team at Black Hills Energy will make sure you have the electricity you need to keep that Java nice and hot. Speaking of hot Java, how about a cup for the road? Black Hills Energy. Life sponsored by Energy.
Nia na mie, ehash unkichi trokecha shni. Wiki ampete yuchla hinapcha, chawan blakesa. Nish wiki walaka cha, hechetu wanjicha. Mitakuye oyasi.
Native Sun News has been voted the best weekly newspaper in its class for 2015 by the South Dakota and North Dakota Newspaper Associations. You can find a copy of the Native Sun News at many businesses and vending machines in Rapid City and the surrounding area, and on all 9 reservations. We publish every Wednesday, so advertisers and subscribers can reach our diverse readership by calling 605-721-1266. The Native Sun News covers the other side of the story.
I have a dream. I want to be a soldier. I have a dream. I want to be a construction worker.
You can help kids' dreams come true by donating to Rural America Initiative's Building Fund.
Hi, welcome back to Oyate Today. I am your host, Richie Richards. Our guest today, once again, is Mr. Doug Herrman, Executive Director of the Club for Boys here in Rapid City. Thank you again, Mr. Herrman, for being here.
Thank you.
Before the break, we were talking a little bit about the partnerships that the Club for Boys has with other organizations. I understand this past year, or back in December, the Club for Boys hosted 8 games from the Lakota Nation Invitational Tournaments. How did that come about?
Well, we were really excited when we first heard that there was a possibility, and they had, initially the chamber had reached out and said, I think the board for the LNI was looking for potential sites and stuff like that, and we said, yeah, we would put us in, and then as it got closer, then they determined they were going to need another location, and since we hadn't ever hosted any games there, Brian Brewer called me, and I actually know Brian from way back. And so they just said, Brian, why don't you come over and see what we have and see if this will fit your needs and stuff like that. And he came over and did a tour. I gave him a tour of the whole club too, because that was my opportunity to show it off, so to speak, but
sure.
Also to show what we have for our large gym. And he looked at it and said, yep, we can make this work, and he was excited, we were excited, and so we were able to set up, and for over 2 days, Friday and Saturday of the tournament, we were able to host a total of 8 games on site. And so it was also an opportunity for our members, our boys, to actually see some of those games. And so we were able to arrange that. The later games in the afternoon we're still playing on. Our boys were arriving from after school, and so we made that part of an activity, and so it worked out really well. We're thrilled. We would love to host them again if they ever needed the space.
Sure, I appreciate you offering that for the community, especially LNI. It's such a great program for Rapid City and the area anyway.
It is.
I understand that you have a partnership with the Rush hockey team here in Rapid City.
Yes, they've been a big supporter of the club, and we've been very fortunate. And one of the things that they, through their foundation, is they have provided funding for our members to participate in hockey, and that can be done a couple different ways, where they can join a team that's already operating, and then the funding would help provide for the equipment. Hockey is, there's a lot of pads and sticks and and skates and things that can be kind of expensive. So they've been very supportive of us. And then they also routinely give us tickets, and so we're able to take boys to their game. In fact, on I think it was New Year's Eve, we had a very large group go and watch the game, and they've actually allowed our boys to participate in the puck drop and be the part of that. And so we've just had a tremendous relationship. They've reached out to us, and we just really thank the Rush Hockey Club that they've just done tremendous work for us, and we really feel fortunate to have that kind of partnership with them.
What a great experience. Many of your members live in kind of poverty situations, or may not have the finances or the ability to go out and see a Rush hockey game, or go out into a cabin in the hills and go canoeing and kayaking. And so when we look at the needs of the community, specifically in regards to demographics, what are those demographics like, and where are these youth coming from specifically to the Club for Boys?
Right. Well, over 50%, a majority of our youth do come from families that are below the poverty line, and so certainly that's an issue. And our membership costs $12 a year, and so we've always kept it very, very low purposely. And then we also have scholarships. So if a family even can't pay the $12, we have another way to do it. And so we've made that really. That's one of the things as a new director coming in, seeing the commitment by the board and those for the last 50 years, basically not raising the membership cost, because we don't want that to be a barrier. And with that, we know about 10% of our youth are homeless at some point during the year. And we also, so we're well aware that a lot of financial situations are a challenge for the family, and so we've purposely kept those things down and tried to reach out. And the other thing, what people don't realize in Rapid City is we have boys coming from all over the city. I think sometimes there's a perception it's from one side or whatever, but we're able to, through a grant, we're able to bus, and so we go out to the valley, we go south. To schools on the south side and north side and the west side, and we're able to bus kids in. And so when you walk into the club and you're seeing all of Rapid City there, and that's pretty neat. I think that's outstanding because we're mixing. And then during the summer, a lot of boys come from the Box Elder area or from the Stage Barn. They go to the Sturgis school system, but they're close enough. Their family can drive them into the club, and so we get a lot of boys from there. So it's pretty diverse in that regard, but of where they come from. About 40% of our youth are Native American, and so we certainly are well aware of that, of course. And we've been fortunate to partner with some other groups like the Wombly Ski Drum and Dance Group, who they practice in our facility on a weekly basis. And then we've kind of created a bond, and our boys can participate with them, and because they're using one part of our building while our boys are there, and we've set that up purposely because we wanted that to be an opportunity for any of our boys to, whether that, and it could certainly be for Native youth, but even other backgrounds, we would like them to be introduced to that and understand a little bit more about the Native culture. And so it's kind of things like that I've really impressed with our staff and our people who have had the foresight to kind of build those kind of relationships. And in fact, just last week, Mark Klein, our assistant executive director, received a star quilt from the Wombly Ski group because they just felt he'd been so supportive of allowing them to practice there. And then we've partnered with them on some other projects and stuff like that, where when they want to do a fundraiser, we'll help them through that and stuff like that. So those are just really neat partnerships that just kind of pay off in so many ways. Sometimes you don't even realize, you don't even anticipate, but they just continue to build over time.
Sure. I guess I didn't realize that the membership cost was so inexpensive. When we're talking $12 per year, $1 per month basically, that's virtually no cost. Some people may have challenges with that. Some families may have challenges in meeting that. So what is the importance and the need for donors for the Club for Boys currently? Is there kind of an...
There's always a great need. You know, we have an annual budget of about $3 million to do what we do, to have about 30 staff that are assigned to the club, but we also operate a thrift store, which is certainly one of our fundraising efforts that we do. You know, and that we're very fortunate that provides a stable income every year for us. But we're also, we do a lot of fundraisers. We have an art auction. We have a lot of sponsors, you know, corporate sponsors that will get involved. And that could be various banks to, you know, insurance companies to construction companies who, like Skull Construction is a big supporter. I probably should mention all of them, but it's hard to do that. So,
sure.
But it's those things that we continue to work with our sponsors and then our donors. We think it's important to get our donors down to the club and see what's going on, because oftentimes you know, they're just amazed at how much activity that we have boys engage in, and it's not necessarily looking at a video screen. It's usually physical activity, things that they're developing skills with, you know, and introducing them to social activities that they can do for the rest of their life.
I'm sure that relationship between the donors and, say, the members and them actually visiting the facility kind of goes both ways. That relationship benefits both, I'm sure. So,
it does.
Mr. Herrman, we're going to take a break and get a word from our sponsors. And when we get back, we'll learn a little bit more about Mr. Herrman, Executive Director of the Club for Boys here in Rapid City. We'll be back after these messages.
I like to eat apples and bananas. I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
If Youth and Family Services weren't available in this community, there would be a lot of unmet basic needs. Very few organizations do as good a job as Youth and Family Services, getting every ounce of usefulness out of people's time, their dollars that they donate.
Youth and Family Services help so many kids. It's a great value to the community.
Join me, because together we help kids.
The aftermath from the recent hurricanes and tropical storms have devastated thousands of communities. You can help the millions of Americans who are affected by these storms. Show your support today. Go to our app or blackhillsfox.com/hurricane relief and make a donation today.
Hi, welcome back to Oyate Today. I am your host, Richie Richards. Our guest tonight, once again, is Mr. Doug Herrman, Executive Director of the Club for Boys here in Rapid City. Thanks again, Mr. Herrman, for being here. Mm-hmm. You have a passion about working with youth, and so could you talk to me a little bit about how that began in your life? When did you take on that role? Because I understand you also worked for the juvenile justice system here in South Dakota for 30 years. So when did you become passionate about helping young boys, young men, youth in South Dakota?
Sure. Well, you know, I did. I got my bachelor's degree in criminal justice, but I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I kind of had this. You know, maybe more of a law enforcement thought, but you know, my first job I got as a counselor at the old youth forestry camp, and it was counseling, you know, boys from 15 to 18 years old, and I just kind of got the bug. I knew that now this is what I really have a passion for, and in particular, within about a year, I had worked with one young man, and he had a really difficult situation. Actually, he had come to us. He had been charged for theft, and he had broke into the state fair concession stand. And his partner in crime was his mother. They broke in, she was still in the cigarettes, he was still in the candy.
Sure.
You know, and after working with him and then him being released, we were able to advocate that he would go live with a family member in the state of Washington. And he called and said, you know, this is the best thing that could ever happen. Thank you for, you know, counseling me and kind of, you know, but more importantly, that you cared enough to make sure I went to someone who cared about me. And so that just, you know, struck a chord. And he stays in contact with me ever since. We've been friends for 30 plus years. He just retired as a lieutenant colonel in the National Guard. And, you know, he talks a lot, and he's actually in cybersecurity and doing work in the Pentagon right now. And just, you know, it's that kind of experience early on that I knew I had done something special here with that young man. And so from that, of course, I proceeded to work in juvenile justice for 30 years. I retired from the state of South Dakota in March of 2016. The last 15 years of that, I was the state director for juvenile corrections and juvenile parole. We call it aftercare rather than parole, but it's essentially the same. And I learned a lot during that time, and certainly, you know, the best kind of interventions, those things that can really make a difference. But you're oftentimes mending and repairing youth. You know, it's kind of after the fact of where some damage has already occurred or those kinds of things. And so certainly tremendous experience, and I had a lot of kids that would contact me because they thought we made a difference in their life. And then the other thing that we were successful is when I took over, we had 1,150 youth that were in our care and custody. And when I left 15 years later, we had 450 youth. You know, I really don't believe corrections should be a growth industry. We should be working and being effective enough. We should be reducing it.
Sure.
And so that's certainly something I'm very proud of what we did, we're able to accomplish in South Dakota, because that's not, you hear that too often, that the numbers go down rather than are going up. So anyway, but you know, after doing that for 30 years, I was ready to do something else with youth, you know, and so I kind of knew I was going to retire, so I started looking around, and I noticed that the club had this position open, and by chance, I realized that Senator Craig Teason was a board member. Unfortunately, Craig has just recently passed, but I had worked with him extensively when he was a senator. And so I called him up and asked him about the club, and of course he was involved with the club for 40 years. He had a passion for it, and he strongly encouraged me to apply. And he said, "You'll never regret it. It's a great place to work." And so with that, I applied and was successful in getting the job, and I would agree. That's exactly what I found out. It's a great place to work.
Sure. Mr. Herrman, that's going to conclude our discussion tonight. I appreciate the work you're doing for our community. I appreciate our sponsors and our producers. And thank you for making Oyate Today a part of your night. You've been watching Oyate Today, brought to you by Native Sun News Today.